All right, let's start with the simple stuff. If it was 4.5, 5, I'd probably take the Bengals. I went and looked at the Bengals and the Rams scores. 18 of the 20 Bengal games were close. They were blown out by Cleveland and lost a lot of jump balls and were kind of whacked at home by the Chargers. But overwhelmingly, they played good teams very tight. Win or lose, Green Bay, Tennessee, San Francisco. So it tells you that's probably the side to be on, but I can't get past this. They feel like the Bengals feel like a 6th seed in March Madness. They win a couple of buzzer beaters. There's clearly momentum, which is a powerful device, but they're going to meet a number 1 seed. It's going to feel like a 1 or a 2. They're not going to be able to block the Rams front. And I feel like it's going to get ugly. And I know it's square, but sometimes don't you just like a matchup?
You're totally entitled to like the matchup if that's where your head is at. It is not an easy game to handicap. And I will tell you, when the line opened at 3.5 and was immediately bet to 4 by professional bettors, that was showing you that they liked the Rams a little bit. And the professional bettors have liked the Rams all year. They liked them for Super Bowl futures. They liked them to win their division. They liked them to win the conference. So by them betting at the 3.5, you were basically seeing them backing their opinion that had been established all year long. So the first half of the week, professional bettors were betting on the Rams, but then the number got to 4.5. And then the professional bettors came in on the Bengals, and you started to see the money even out a little bit. So now you're basically getting the bettors. You've seen where the line of demarcation is, for lack of a better term. 4.5 is where they definitively like the Bengals. 3.5 is where they definitively like the Rams. And at 4, it's a matchup game. You like the Rams. I like the Bengals. That's it. It's that opinion.
I think I'd take the under. I think the game will be quick. The Bengals are proficient at running. The Rams aren't necessarily the last 2 weeks because it's the Niners and Bucks run defense. They were very proficient running the ball against Arizona. I think the game shrinks. I think there's more running than we think. I think it's a quick game. I think it's mostly well played. I don't think there are as many big plays over the top because I think both secondaries are highly capable. So I would take the under, sharp or square.
That is totally sharp. It opened at 49.5. It got bet down to 48.5. It's been sitting there, but that is the side that the wise guys are betting. I do want to go back to some of your calculus on the Bengals, discounting the close games they've played and saying that it feels like a 6th seed in March Madness, and that they're not as good as what they're showing on the field. I would say that would be true if they only did it during the playoffs. But you said it yourself. 18 of 20 games. The team keeps games close. And the problem with betting against the Bengals in a spot like this isn't because you think the Rams are going to win the game. They are the better team. It's why they're favored. They were the better team all year long. They have the better quarterback by a percentage. They dominate on the defensive line, and the Bengals offensive line isn't that great. So what happens is you get the Bengals down big, and when the game gets closer to the end, that's when the Bengals consistently find ways to use their explosiveness to get into the end zone. So I'm not betting because I think the Bengals are the better team. I'm betting because I think the Bengals are going to be able to find a way to keep this game close, either through 60 minutes or in the last 3 minutes.
Let's talk receiving yards. Odell Beckham over under 62.5, Jamar Chase 78.5, Cooper Kupp 105. That's a big number for Kupp, and he's terrific, but I do like the safety play by the Bengals. I probably bet the under on Cooper Kupp. That's of the 3, that looks like the play. Your thoughts?
So the Cooper Kupp specifically, I'm not going to deflect. I'm going to give you my thoughts. But the Cooper Kupp receiving totals across the board are the biggest liability the sports books have in this Super Bowl. It's not a side. It's not a total. They have been getting hammered from the second these props opened on Cooper Kupp overs. And I'm in that camp. I didn't bet his over total receiving yards. I haven't bet his over receptions, but I did bet Cooper Kupp over 28.5 for longest reception because he's so good at yards after the catch. And the Bengals defensive secondary, the way they play defense, it allows for him to be in matchups, to be in open space and find opportunities to do that. So I think that the market is getting priced out for a lot of the numbers you just talked about for Odell, for Cooper Kupp, for Jamar Chase. What I do like a lot, T. Higgins, over about 69.5 receiving yards. Tyler Boyd, over, I forgot the number of receptions, but I like him over for receptions. I do think that you get to the second and third tier of receivers for the Bengals, and I like that a lot because the Rams defensive secondary is very bad covering. They play a lot of zone and they leave a lot of open space in the middle of the field, which is where those two guys eat.
I tend to be an under better more than an over better because I think the public likes overs. So in rushing yards, I'm going to go away because in passing yards, Burrow and Stafford, Burrow 267.5 yards, Stafford 281.5. I'd go under on both. But I do like the over on rushing yards with both Mixon at 60.5 and Cam Akers, especially at 64.5, because I have a feeling of what I'm going to see. And I think both running backs are going to have really, really strong days. I also believe there's always a feeling out process in Super Bowls, especially for a young team like Cincinnati. And even though they throw the ball downfield, I don't know how many downfield throws with that Rams defensive front you can make. I think you're going to have to use that with discretion or Joe Burrow's going to have a long afternoon. So I really do believe running backs I would go over on those rushing yards, sharp or square.
Totally sharp. And I think it correlates to a lot of the things that we talked about, especially if you're a Bengals bettor, right? The one area where you can definitively say, I think the Bengals have the advantage from a position grouping point of view is at running back. Joe Mixon's just a better running back than anyone else the Rams have in their backfield right now. Cam Akers maybe one day, but not 3 games back from a blown Achilles. So you have the advantage there. If you think this game is going to go under, if you think the pace of play is going to be quick, if you think that there's not going to be a lot of stoppages, that it's going to be a low-scoring game, that plays into both of these guys going over their rushing yard totals. If you think the game is likely to be close, which I do with the Bengals, then that plays into these guys going over their rushing yard total. So I can't argue. The market can't argue. The professionals can't argue.
From a professional point of view, Aaron Donald at plus 1,500. I think a lot of times with MVPs, it can be statistical, but we also vote for stories. Some of this stuff is, and I think you're going to listen to announcers that talk a lot about Aaron Donald. I think he's going to be a big part of the broadcast. A lot of Rams players are really doing this for Aaron Donald. Matt Stafford pointed it out. And I do think there's a romance to the great defensive player who's been here before, who's been a dominant player who doesn't have one. Usually that player is an offensive player. So of the MVP favorites, the FanDuel odds, I think Aaron Donald at plus 1,500 is interesting to me. What say you?
I say that's a little bit square, and that the odds reflect what bookmakers know the market is thinking, that this is an Aaron Donald narrative Super Bowl, and that he is the guy. Look, I'm prone to it too, right? You and I are old people who have been doing this forever. We should be jaded, but I like the idea of Aaron Donald winning the Super Bowl. I'm partial to the Rams winning, even though I have the Bengals at +4, because I think I like the narrative when a player who is best in class in his position historically, I like when they win the title. I like when they have the satisfaction. I just root for people to be happy, right? Just what I do. I'm for people being happy. I want you to win too, Colin. I don't think the odds on Aaron Donald are very good. I do think the defense is where the value is for MVP. Jalen Ramsey, closer to 80 to 100 to 1. Von Miller, further down the list. Leonard Floyd, think about this, right? All the attention being paid to Von Miller, to Aaron Donald. Leonard Floyd is a pretty great defensive end who can get after the quarterback. So the opportunity to get him when everyone else is paying attention to the other two guys is where I think the value is.
If you had a final score prediction, you like the under, you're kind of telling me it sounds like you'd be 26-23 Rams, kind of where you're at, if you think it's close.
I think it's in that range. I think I kept thinking 24-21 Rams, like because that gives me a comfortable cushion against the 48.5, and I won't be sweating it at the end of the game. But I just think that these are two teams who they're going to play it close to the vest. And I expect there to be an opportunity for the Bengals to be in a position to win it late in the game. I don't think they will, but I think they're going to have the opportunity.
All right, Chad Millman, Chief Content Officer. Very low key effort today by both of us because we've talked a lot of these odds and we're not messing around now. Let's just, this is business.
Colin, we don't need to dilly-dally. Give the people the information. Like, let them go make their bets. These lines might move a little bit based on what we're saying. They better go get them now because that's where the opportunity is. We don't need to entertain just to entertain.